Also, I just got a windscreen, so I'm trying this out for the first time.
Ah, nice.
Chat, can you hear me? Chat? You guys know what to do? Alright. We're good to go. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to this week's edition of the Cutline. And as you see to the left of me, we got a very special guest for today's episode. I don't know where it is to you, but to the left of me, we got Connor Hudson, not Elly. Elly Productions. What's up, man?
How's it going, man?
Doing good, doing good. We were just talking. First of all, this guy uploaded a great video. What was it, yesterday? Yeah, about Alex Bowman and Dale Jr. As a Junior fan, I very much enjoyed it. Normally, I got my Dale Jr. Plaque up here, but it wants to keep falling, so it's just laying on the bed for right now. But it was a great video, and like I said, thanks for coming on, man.
I appreciate it. And I also hope to make a better... I know that was kind of focusing on the bad part of Dale Jr.'s career, so at some point I'll make one about the good parts.
So what did you think exactly about Kansas? Let's start off with that one.
Interesting. It was interesting. It was interesting with the pretext of all the drivers during the weekend talking about, the aero package in the car and how, if it's not a very exciting race, then the fans are going to go off about it. And to be quite honest, that's kind of, I don't want to say it wasn't exciting because there were good parts of it and the racing was still pretty good. Like one-on-one, I thought it was good. But then, once again, Kyle Larson did Kyle Larson things. And yeah, that's kind of all she wrote.
Well, as now a Larson fan, I very much enjoyed it. And I got this league. It's like a league. It's like 4 of my friends. 2 of us have watched NASCAR our entire lives. 2 of them just started watching like since Daytona. And so basically we do it where you have to get the right amount of, you have to get the winner right. So I picked Larson. And
good day.
So there's 5 points total. Because we did like this weird rule where if your favorite driver wins, you get an extra 3 bonus points. So Larson won a Homestead, so I got the points. Then at Bristol, Larson won, so my other buddy got... So we have 5 points scored total, all of them from Larson.
Yeah. You get a lot of bonus points. That dude's doing good for you.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Well, I had Denny Hamlin as my pick, which that looked good for a while. Then it didn't.
It was crazy. If the race went green, he probably still would have finished top 5.
Probably.
That's the crazy part.
That team has got so much grit, but some things you just can't overcome.
You know what's funny? Something about Denny Hamlin, and I was talking with a friend of mine about this. I remember at the beginning of the year how everyone was saying that, didn't you predict Denny was going to miss the playoffs this year?
Yeah.
So
didn't age very well.
I have this theory about Hamlin. I remember in 2016 he got his new crew chief, and he had like a mini career resurgence. 2019 he got a new crew chief, and he had another career resurgence. I think Denny thrives on change. I think if Denny gets too complacent, that's when he starts to teeter off. I think you need to keep changing things with the 11, and that's when it's like a new spark.
Yeah. And I think that's what I forgot is how when he got Chris Gabehart and when he got, who was it before that? Mike Wheeler, I think.
I think so.
He came out of the gate storming, and then it just kind of tapered off over time. So I think that was the big miscalculation on my part. I was so distracted by the fact that his hauler was blank. I was like, oh God, they don't even have a sponsor. They're going to be terrible.
I didn't even think...
They're not progressive, and they've been great ever since.
I didn't even think Denny would do that well either, because, like you said, the sponsorship. But no, he's just like...
Too. Yeah.
Well, see what the chat here has to say. Hi, Miss Swetzer. Larson was in my garage. And Denny has fallen off as of late. Go, Joey. Fallen off? He won back-to-back races.
I don't know what you're talking about there, Jamie.
Murph turn 2. Howdy, y'all. What's going on, Murph? Hendrickson, hello. What's going on, man? Oh, 3LI516 said, what did you do to my boy, Elly?
What did you do?
I don't know.
I'm narrow. I'm so narrow. Look at me.
Oh, I guess that's how it's cropped.
I'm so skinny. Oh wow, this is great.
Oh, that's funny. All right, let's just jump straight into the show. So, I know this is, well, there's a sneak peek. I know this was a conversation that was going on, especially after yesterday's race, with Kansas and Carson Hocevar with the whole middle finger against Lane Riggs. If you guys don't know, in the final lap, as you can see right here on the screen, shout out to Steven Toronto, by the way, Carson Hocevar flipped the middle finger over to Lane Riggs as he was crossing the finish line to win the race. Now, Hocevar did say, I believe, it's right over here. Yep, so Hocevar actually did comment on this on Twitter and even in his post-race, where he said basically it was for laughs and giggles, basically saying that, you know, for shots and goggles. But I have seen a lot of outrage from fans about this whole incident, if you will, or really, I don't even want to call it an incident. It's a controversy in my opinion. You got some fans saying like, oh, this is why Hocevar, you know, like this is why he's never going to mature, or like just some other just incidents here and there. Like here's one right here. Isn't this the same POS that wrecked Priest last week the exact same way? So basically they're trying to say that what is Hocevar doing? Though I will say it is kind of rich knowing Hocevar's history that he is flipping someone off as he's trying to win the race. I will admit that. However, I guess the question I want to ask is this warranted? Is this backlash against Carson Hocevar warranted? Because in my opinion, there's two things. Number one, you can say that he's a professional athlete, that he shouldn't be acting this sort of way. He needs to hold himself to a higher standard. I can see it in that sense. On the other hand, and this is where I fall in, we need personality in the sport. How many times do we complain that the Cup Series, Xfinity, Truck, NASCAR, there's no personality anywhere? And yet we finally get a taste of personality, and the first thing what we go to do is complain.
Yep.
So, I mean, Hocevar, he's one of the best personalities in the sport. He does not hold back. And I saw one tweet where, I mean, Hocevar does a lot of good for NASCAR. Red flag at Daytona due to the rain. He was on iRacing. Got the Dale Senior paint scheme truck on Facebook Marketplace. You know, the whole Ride the Dente thing with Chili's, going all in on that advertisement. And even this. Hocevar does so much good to the sport because he's a breath of fresh air in, you know, a sport filled with, no offense to any of these drivers, but like Chase Elliott's or William Byron's or Alex Bowman's. I just listen most of the Hendrick guys, but
don't forget Kyle Larson. I'm not going to just because he's one of the best on the planet, I'm not going to forgive him for having the personality of a piece of toast.
Yeah, but you got blunt Larson. That's the thing. Like, Larson does, I feel like, enough to where he'll just say what he wants. But
and also he has the skill to balance it out. You know, he can walk the walk. There's no question about that.
Exactly. But I mean, Connor, what do you think about it? Because, like I said, in my opinion, I kind of align with the latter. What I said. He's a great personality and he's fast. He just needs to clean up a few things here and there. And of course, he's with Spire. But I mean, he's a personality that this is what we want to see. We want to see drivers show out.
Yeah, I mean, I was just thinking back to all the times that Dale Sr. would flip people off and do stuff. Anytime, like Tim Richmond or Rusty Wallace or anybody would flip people off, and that just make the crowd go crazy. And so for a driver to do it while crossing the line, my first reaction when I saw it, I was like, I literally put on my Instagram thought, I'm like, Carson Hocevar is my new favorite driver. That was so freaking funny. And then the first tweet I saw was from Phil Spain, and he was like, guess we still got some growing up to do. And I'm like, what? Come on, man. Like, if it was like Formula One, prim and proper, we've got tons of shareholders to take care of, we've got millions of fans watching from everywhere, maybe I'd kind of understand it. But it's NASCAR, man. This is what NASCAR is all about, and I love to see it. I know it's impossible to mention Hocevar without mentioning he is objectively one of the I'd say dirtier racers in the field, one of the more frustrating ones to be around.
Yeah.
But come on, it's funny. It's so good for ratings to have people like that.
Don't let them try that in Formula One because they'll get fined, they'll get suspended, a points penalty.
Well, yeah, the worst part is that, you know, out the window you can kind of hide it, but with Formula One, you'd be sticking your finger straight up in the air, and that's
exactly.
hard to hide, and that's a little dangerous.
Yep, exactly. I mean, I put a tweet out yesterday where this is going to tie in a way where when Palou won his pole for the Indy GP, which by the way, that dude is on a generational run this year. I know this is a NASCAR show, but like we're kind of deviating to IndyCar, but it's like what I like with IndyCar fans that I've noticed is that I'm not seeing a lot of complaining from IndyCar fans. Now the racing is terrible in that series so far with that hybrid unit, it's awful. But I don't see anyone complaining that because Palou was dominating. I see more people just like, wow, this guy's on a generational run. I really wish NASCAR fans were more like that. Like, you see, like, Larson winning 3 out of 12 races or Bell winning 3 in a row, and you're just like, damn, we're just seeing something generational, not just, oh, this is terrible.
Yeah, I agree. Who was it? I think it was Iceberg who had a conversation with Jeff Gluck of The Athletic, and they were talking about how parity in the sport, how for a long time, when you have just one driver winning, eventually you got to try and get some parity. You got to get more drivers in victory lane. And they had that for a while. Was it 2022? They had 19 different winners in one season. That's crazy. But they also talked about how that could be the detriment of the sport. Because if everyone's winning, who's the face?
Exactly.
You know, what's the big story? You always want that one. You want a Verstappen. You want a Palou who's like actively challenging the records and becoming one of the greats of the sport. NASCAR, you know, Larson kind of is doing it. Hamlin's kind of been doing it, but like nothing close to Jimmy Johnson, Jeff Gordon, Dale Earnhardt, Richard Petty, like nowhere close. Pearson, Yarborough, nowhere close to any of them.
I think a great discussion would be, what would Larson look like not with this next gen car and not with this playoff format? Like even back to like the COT and the chase format. Like, what would Larson look like in that system? Because I think there is an argument to be made that he's being held back by the system. Because we talk about him like he's like on Jeff Gordon, Dale Sr., Jimmy Johnson's level. But you look at the stats, 1 championship, 32 wins, and like, you know he should have more.
Yeah. It honestly made, and that 1 championship, I mean, 2021, that was supposed to be the year they introduced the next gen car. So I'm sitting there thinking like, boy, they brought that in, for him at least, I feel like at the worst time. Like, yeah, it's hard to think about what could have been. And especially when you think about guys like Logano, who it's so hard. I know we're going off topic a little bit, but
that's fun.
It's so hard for me to think about like Joey Logano in the same light as Tony Stewart or Darrell Waltrip. Or I can't do it.
Let me ask you a question about this. And Jamie said here, Joey is that guy. Do you think, because it's so weird with this format, because the best guy, I mean, Logano was the worst statistical champion probably in the sport's history.
Yes.
Do you think that we're in a Logano era? Because he's won, when you really look at it, 3 out of the last, I believe, 6 championships. So he's won half of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Do you think we're in the Logano era?
Yeah. That when people look back, they're going to see 3 championships. And I mean, you look at the NBA, you know, you look at the 2010s and you think like, you know, you got LeBron in the league. Kobe was still playing for a while. You got all those. It's going to be thought of as the Warriors era because they won all those championships. You know, you're not going to look at a whole lot of other stuff. When people look back 50, 60, 70 years from now, they're going to see those 3 championships and be like, oh, he was just dominant the whole time, which he wasn't.
No.
But who was it? Jamie said Joey is that guy. That's what I mean. It's hard to think of him that way, but he 100% deserves it.
Oh, yeah.
He's risen up in the system. He has risen to the occasion and done what he's had to do.
Absolutely. I agree 100%. Larson in the COT from Raging Knuckles would be pretty crazy. I mean, yeah, I agree. And it's crazy, too, because you think of Larson as this guy, like, you know, he can wheel a 900 horsepower car, slipping and sliding, the dirt guy. But his dominant era is in this cut horsepower. You know, like 550, 670, you know, aero grip like crazy. So what would it look like, again, if he had, you know, a car where he actually had to drive it a little more? I really want to see, it's never going to happen, but I want to see if Larson could one day really beat Jeff Gordon's 13 win record in the modern era. Because I think he has the talent to do it. I think the car holds him back.
I agree. He absolutely could do it. And just look at his performances in the Xfinity series. These bigger, bulkier cars, not as much horsepower, not as much kick, obviously, but just the bigger, bulkier race cars that you can kick out a little bit more. You can lean on a little bit more. And he gets on them and he just wins. Yep. That's just what he does.
And as a Larson fan, I'm loving it.
For your sake, I'm happy for you.
Thanks. All right, let's move on to the next subject here, and this isn't really more about Larson. I'm gonna move on to really the last month and a half of NASCAR racing, in the sense of the title on the thumbnail, the title of the video or the episode. Did NASCAR stop the bleeding? And what do I mean by this? Really, the last 5 races, now going on 6, the sport has not been in a good place. These races have not been good. They have been, I mean, Texas, you could argue, was good, but I'd say it was more entertaining rather than the on-track product was really good. It was kind of, I compared Texas to an F1 race, where typically a good F1 race has a lot of craziness happening, but the actual on-track product is still nothing special. Texas, in my opinion, was something similar to that.
Yeah, and also the fact of, it's one thing to ask the fans how they thought about it, and then the drivers. I don't think the drivers cared for it much because of how it's just so sketchy. Like, it's fun to watch, but to be behind the wheel, that's a whole nother deal.
Exactly. And it's funny, too, because William Byron, after the Kansas races for the truck series, even he talked about how it felt good to get into a truck and just slip and slide all over the place. Really had to finesse the race car, and even he said, probably not going to be able to do that on Sunday, which, again, if you have one of your top guys saying that you can't really do what you want to with these cars because it's not really fun, I mean, that's a problem. And you see it in the racing. And the best way to show that here, of course, you got Jeff Gluck's poll. I mean, look at these bottom 5 races here for the poll. Martinsville, Texas, Darlington, Talladega, Bristol. The last 5 races that I mentioned, all of them, I mean, the highest one is what? Barely under 51%, the first Martinsville race. And I thought that race was solid. I didn't think it was nothing special, but I thought it was solid. And if you do the math on those 5 races, it's an average of just over 41%. The last 5 races, I'm not sure what, we'll find out with the Kansas poll, but the last 5 races, an average of 41%. That's not very good, especially because look at the tracks here. Bristol, Martinsville, Talladega, Darlington. Texas, you expect the 50%, but the other 4, these are supposed to be some of the best tracks on the schedule. And Connor, this is terrible. 2 short tracks, a finesse track, and a super speedway, the baddest super speedway on the schedule.
And you think about last year, this was the stretch of racing that people were all about. I remember making videos about it in the comments. Like, the first half of the season was awesome between the Kansas finish, and Bristol was great with that tire wear. Talladega is a barn burner like always. This is the stretch where we got to be cashing in, and
exactly,
people aren't enjoying it.
It's funny. I keep mentioning this, but back in 2022, when the next gen came out, I was talking with my friend NASCAR Opinion, and he was saying, oh, this car could be something crazy. I said, year 1 and year 2, you have to treat it like a wash because teams are still figuring out this car. I mean, as crazy as it sounds, even in 2019, I remember the Coke 600, that Kansas fall race, there were a couple of really good 1.5 mile races with that 550 package because the teams didn't know what they were doing. They were trying to figure it out. And when teams don't know what they have, then of course you're going to get a lot of parity and you're going to get a lot of exciting action, exciting racing. But then once you kick into year 3 and year 4 and these teams finally know what they have, you really start to see what this car is about. And I mean, we've seen it. It is just the short tracks, not very good. Super speedways, not very good. I like COTA. I thought COTA was very good this year, but more often than not, the road course is not good. And even the 1.5 miles, the saving grace for this car, I mean, I'll answer the question now. I mean, did Kansas really stop the bleeding? I thought the race was good, but I don't think it did. Because I had the same problem of Darlington, where I thought Chase Elliott was a faster car than Kyle Larson, but it didn't really matter because once you got into the lead, clean air was king. You couldn't catch the leader, to save the life of you. Bell couldn't do it. Elly couldn't do it unless there was lap traffic. Logano couldn't do it. Brad was doing it a little bit, but then he blew his tire.
Yeah. And I think that's the only reason he could get as close as he was, because they were really pushing those pressures.
Exactly. And it's a shame, too, because the mile and a half, specifically these multi-groove tracks, are supposed to be the next-gen strength. And I also had a theory. I've had a lot of theories recently. But I thought that I thought that NASCAR was going to wait for Kansas. You know, because, what else Sawyer said after Talladega. But really, they were quiet after Martinsville. They were quiet after Darlington. They were quiet after Bristol. They were really quiet after Texas, too. I thought they were going to stay quiet until Kansas, because they were going to rely on this track producing really good racing, really good finishes, to really determine if they were either going to push a, see, there's nothing to worry about agenda, or, okay, we're finally going to listen to what everyone has to say. And after what we just saw, I really don't know how you can push an agenda on this car is fine. Because, you have passing throughout the field, but no one could touch the leader regardless. Larson had clean air, he was gone. Chase had clean air, he was gone. There was nothing you could do to pass the leader. And I know not everything is about, the battle for the lead. There was action throughout the pack, but at the end of the day, no one's watching a race to watch a battle for 10th. No one's watching a race to watch even a battle for 5th. We want to see who's going to win. And it would have been different if Larson could catch Elliott or Elliott could catch Larson quicker. The problem is he couldn't, because you knew the dirty air was so bad.
Yeah. And the limited lines. And, well, you can't even say that, honestly. There were plenty of lines to run. It's just it all equals out at some point. It's really hard to make any ground whatsoever and find an edge over somebody else.
Let me ask you this. Is it a horsepower issue or is it an aero issue? Because the Xfinity car has 650 horsepower, which is only 20 more than a Cup car, but the racing is great. That tells me that's an aero issue.
Yes. I think it's an aero issue they're trying to fix with horsepower. And It's the same problem I've had with the next-gen car from the beginning that I think is so, beyond forgetting that all the safety stuff, the stuff that ended Kurt Busch's career, that, the dispersion of an impact has to go somewhere. And if it doesn't go on the car, it's going to the driver. I hate that they forgot that. But then the other thing that they're trying to fix is the fact that you have these short, wide cars with very thin tires, and you're trying to make them drive like the semi-trucks of the Gen 6, like those big, tall, bulky cars. It's exhausting to see that, the drivers are frustrated because there's no consistency. The teams are frustrated because they keep having to try and reinvent the wheel and change these things they don't want to change. The fans are frustrated because the racing's not good. It's just insane decision-making that is... I'll be honest, it's making me kind of disillusioned with the sport. I'm like, man, they just keep trying to fix... They're just taking all the wrong avenues to fix these problems that would have never existed if they just listen on occasion,
When Jim France was announced as the CEO back in 2018 after, Brian France, decided to DUI after Chase Elliott won.
Yep.
The problem is he came from IMSA. I think he's still the CEO of IMSA. And... my issue is, it makes sense why they went with the sports car route of the next gen, for the next gen. Because, you got a CEO who all he knows is sports car racing.
Yeah.
But my thing is...
and all the road courses and performance stuff.
Exactly.
All that stuff, yeah.
But what's crazy also is that, remember, back in 2018, 2019, 2020... we were clamoring for more short tracks and road courses because the few times we went to the Roval, we went to Sonoma, we went to Bristol, the racing was amazing. It was the mile and a half that were terrible. So then NASCAR finally bites the bullet and says, all right, we're going to give you all these road courses, we're going to give you all these short tracks, but then they give us a car that's terrible at road courses and terrible at short tracks, but is good. They literally flip-flopped it. So now they're like, here's North Wilkesboro, here's Rockingham, here's Iowa, here's Coda. But you have a car that is too good to drive. I remember when the next gen came out and I heard bigger brakes. For some reason, I thought, oh, bigger brakes, they're going to be able to dive into the corner more, and that's going to produce more dive bombs. And I'm not an engineer, so I don't know. Yeah, you'd think, but it's the exact opposite. They could just shift into fourth gear, and then there's no problem. I know we're talking about short tracks and road courses for a mile and a half racing, but it still applies because, I mean, look at Vegas. Vegas was still good, but nothing really special. Darlington, not good. Kansas, would you call that a good race?
Well, are we talking about this year?
Yeah.
The one today?
This is the one we just had.
Yeah, today. Yeah. Again, it's the whole deal. I feel guilty because all the drivers were talking about before the race, they're like, oh, if it's bad, if one guy runs away with it, then all the fans are going to complain.
I know.
Well, here I am complaining. They called us out. So I guess I'm here complaining. Yeah.
And here's the thing, though. The more years we have with this car, the worse it's going to get. Because teams are just going to keep figuring out more and more, and the more they learn about this car, the worse it's going to get.
Yeah, oh, it's such a big. It's such a. You know, one of the things I was thinking about the other day. I'm so sad that we never got to see the next gen car at Old Atlanta. Like, that's something I thought about the other day. It would probably run really well there. It'd be interesting how the mile and a half's have been pretty good and how that old surface really weathered down. It'd be fun to race there. We just never got the chance.
I agree. Let's see the comments here. Jaime said, will Coca-Cola 600 be any better? Living in Charlotte, I hope so. Honestly, I don't know.
I'd have to imagine. That one's been good. Last year sucked because it got rained out, but they can't mess that one up, right? They're not going to screw that one up. I should hope.
I really do hope not, and I will say the race was better, like in these short, like stage 1 and 2, I think were better than stage 3, and I think that's just because, you know, shorter stages. So maybe because you have 100 lap stages for them, maybe because of the shorter runs it'll be better. But I mean, Kansas has been talked about for the past few years with this car. It's the best track on the schedule, and if that track is starting to suffer, Charlotte is a close second, but I just don't know.
Charlotte also it's a little better maintained. I will say that.
That's
the
true.
surface, it's a little newer. Banking's a little higher. Now, if Charlotte starts going downhill, if in a couple weeks we're still saying the same stuff, it may be time to press the panic button.
Yes.
I'm a little worried about that.
Agreed. King Solomon Racing Network, hashtag road to 900 subs. How long do you think the next gen will last before NASCAR goes to a different model? Honestly, I don't know, because when you really look at especially the last 3 generation of cars, I mean, the Gen 4, that ran from what, like the early 90s to the mid 2000s. The COT only ran 5 years, believe it or not. And the Gen 6 ran for a decade.
Yeah. I still love the Gen 6.
You do?
Minus the reduced horsepower, I miss it. I think it was a great car and it ran really well at a lot of different kinds of tracks. And especially now in this day and age of so much variety of racetracks, all we're missing right now is just going back to a dirt track at some point. But I actually find myself really missing it. You know?
Do you think the Cup Series needs to go dirt racing?
Yes, absolutely. But like
I agree.
at a dirt track.
Yes.
I think. Bristol was all right. I think Bristol got too much flack. It's just, you know, you do have at this point short tracks that have, you know, provided you can put in safer barriers and safety precautions and stuff. You have tracks with the infrastructure like Eldora that can handle a good amount of people, especially, I mean, Bristol this year, not going to lie, I could sit anywhere I wanted to at that track. There was not a lot of people there. You have dirt tracks, and especially with it being in that part of the country, that could absolutely handle that amount of people. Like Bristol, 160,000 I think is the capacity, and my weather eye, I think I saw maybe 30,000 there. That's probably my estimate. So there are places that could probably handle it. I wish we'd go back. It feels like the Bristol thing was an experiment, and they're like, oh, it failed. And it's like, well, not really. Like, it was actually
Yeah.
fun. I think people enjoyed it.
I know we're going to go a little bit off topic with this one, but you did sponsor, I believe it was a truck and an Xfinity car. How was that experience, seeing your brand, everything you worked for with your channel, all of that on a truck and an Xfinity car?
It was so cool. It took me back to when I was a kid, and I'd do the same thing that Aflac Cup Series would do. I'd cover my cars in white out, or like my little toy cars, and draw little EP logos on them. And so, to come to a track and see it actually there on the car, it was priceless. Like, it was such a cool experience. The truck I didn't even know about.
What?
I got there, and Tyler told me as I was coming in, he was like, "By the way, I got a surprise for you." And I'm like, "Oh, really?" And parked over there is his truck, and the EP's on the hood. I'm like, "Oh, damn, that's pretty sweet." And he even ran really well in it. He made a good name for me. He finished 21st and beat a whole bunch of the full-time trucks, and that was a great run. And it was so much fun to. I'd never been in a NASCAR hauler. I'd never really hung out with a team before. I've never been on a pit box, so I got to mark off all these bucket list things there. And unfortunately, the Xfinity car didn't make the race. But the funny part about that was that they parked it in the garage, and I got all these photos with it. Like, if it had made the race, I probably wouldn't have even gotten that chance. So it all kind of worked. It was a lot of fun. And if I find myself in the right situation, with people and then financially and all that stuff, I'd love to do it again and get the Carrot Top car. I want to make it real. I want to do a Carrot Top throwback to Ken Schrader's car.
I need to know the lore behind, because I know with the paint scheme review, I know with your paint scheme streams, you're always saying, please don't put a Carrot Top car. What is the lore behind, for people who may not know, what is the lore between you and the Carrot Top car?
A couple years ago, I made a video showing off like all the paint schemes that I've painted for NR 2003, and how I've kind of grown as a graphic designer, I guess. But one segment of the video, I was like explaining why I despised the Ken Schrader 2003 AT&T Carrot Top car, because it's the ugliest car on the planet. I maintain that it's the ugly. Well, yeah, it's the ugliest car I've ever seen. It just has Carrot Top's face on the hood, screaming with his hair all up like this. And in NR 2003, that's the default option for if you want to run the 49 car. So anytime I don't have a paint scheme, I have to run that car. And so I explained to people, I'm like, I hate that car with a seething passion. So then I started doing these paint scheme contests for people. And every single time, like the first stream, there was like 5 or 6 of them. People were like making jokes about it. Then there was like 25 of them in the next one. And then in the last one, I counted 130 Carrot Tops in the last one we did. So it's just this inside gag that I think it's hilarious. It's like, what was it, Jay Schlatt with the, they're not free gag, like people saying that stuff is just free when it's not. That's kind of my version of that, and I love it to death, and I'd love to actually have a Carrot. I don't think anybody's done a throwback to that car, for good reason. It's so ugly, but it would be so funny to put that on an actual race car. It'd be hilarious.
What team would do a throwback, though? I'm trying to think, because is there a 49 in any of the 3 series?
I don't think so.
There's none in Cup.
Might have to go with another number, honestly.
There's none in Cup.
Which I'm okay with.
So I'm trying to think, like, sponsor-wise, like, the colors, what team would work best with the Carrot Top? Honestly, we've had Corey LaJoy's face and hair on the 32 car. It could work again.
I'll contact Rick Ware. I'll get Rick Ware on the line and see if we can do something with that. I'm cool with another number. I just get me a Carrot Top car. That needs to be a thing. I don't know that I can close out my career on YouTube without having a Carrot Top throwback car.
Okay, I got an idea.
My ultimate goal.
I got an idea. Picture this. Carrot Top, but following the Corey LaJoy Old Spice scheme, where the face is on the hood and the rest of the car is the ginger or red hair.
That's basically what it looks like already. I think that, yeah, I like that idea. That'd be a funny thing. Like, Rick Ware statistically would be the only team in NASCAR history to have 3 different cars. Or no. Oh no, it was a different team. I don't even know what I'm talking about. I was thinking about it, I'm like, dang, they would have had 3 cars with a ludicrous amount of hair on it. But no, that was a Go Fast, the 32 car.
Yes.
Like the
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm talking about. Carrot Top car. We're gonna make it happen.
King Solomon Racing Network, what playoff format do you think works best with NASCAR? My opinion, what works with every other motorsport, no playoff format. Racing doesn't need playoffs, never did. If you want entertainment, watch the race. That's what we're entertained by.
You're on the money on that one. Sing it.
I've been preaching that for years. And the thing is also is, I said this for many years. The championship needs to be second to, because what problem with playoff racing is that you oversaturate everything with playoffs. Like, oh, he's locked into the playoffs, and we're in the first race of the season, the Daytona 500. Oh, the playoff points, trying to make the playoffs. We're not even halfway done with the season, and we're still talking about playoffs. I care more about, is the race going to be good? I want the race to be good first, and then the championship implications second. Because you flip it around, and then it's like, you get tired of the playoffs. You get tired of hearing about it nonstop over and over and over. Get the racing to be good, because let me tell you something. If the next gen was a good race car, less people would care about the playoff format. But the next gen is bad, and they're complaining about this, and we also have a terrible format. But
and it's the greatest paradox in motorsports that people don't care about it during the regular season because they just want to watch the racing. And also, usually the drivers that probably shouldn't be rewarded get rewarded. Then the playoffs come around, the time where, in theory, we should care more than ever, and you got the 11th place guy in points winning the championship, so nobody cares. It's such a paradox.
And you got the guy who's last in points making it to the play. I still can't believe the fact that I could say I witnessed in person a Harrison Burton
really?
Cup win. I've seen some weird winners. I saw Austin Dillon win in 2022. I saw Harrison Burton win last year. I've seen some weird winners.
Those are like the playoff upsets. Like those are what I think of when I think of a playoff party crasher.
I can't believe
and
it.
I no disrespect to I like, Austin Dillon and Harrison Burton. They won those races. They did. It's just a shame the parameters that surround it.
Exactly.
We're not talking about, oh, that's cool, they won a race. No, it's all about, oh, what championship implications? Are we gonna who's gonna be left out? Is it gonna be Martin Truex, who's like 6th in points? Is it gonna be Ryan Blaney, who's like 5th in points?
Exactly.
Like, why is that what we're talking about? It's so stupid.
And it takes away from the individual story itself. Harrison Burton, loses his ride, gets his first Cup win, beats Kyle Busch to do it. 100th win for the Wood brothers. That alone should have been a story that carried throughout the entire week. But no, it gets overshadowed by, oh, now the guy who's last in points just made the playoffs.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure that's what Marty Snyder said. Instead of anything else, when he came up to him, he's like, Harrison, you're in the playoffs. How does it feel? It's like, come on, man.
Yeah. It's like it turns a feel-good story to, oh, yeah. And I don't know about for you, but for me, I almost don't want underdog winners anymore, at least not full-timers, because I know what that means. It's like, I almost root against them because I don't want someone who has no business competing for a championship.
I really thought about putting all of my money on Harrison Burton being eliminated in the first round, and I should have, because it just wasn't going to happen. He wasn't going any further.
Exactly. Let's see here. Jamie said NASCAR can hide behind crappy racing with the playoff format. It's a cop-out from producing good racing. I mean, that'd be good if, you didn't have guys like Logano and Burton, actually doing something in the playoffs.
It also sucks. There is good racing. Like, we've seen good under the whole playoff format, especially 2014, like the first year of the playoffs. Fantastic racing. It was great to watch. It's all muddled down by the playoff implications.
Exactly. Like, even, I'm trying to think, it was the 2019 Talladega race, the one where Brendan Gaughan flipped. That race was really good. Yeah. Race side by side, action throughout, but again, it just gets overshadowed by the playoffs.
Yeah. Every time.
Raging Knuckles, Harrison Burton in the playoffs. What a fever dream. Oh, he's got another one. Kind of how I feel about Brad Keselowski. I'd like for them to win, but as of right now, he doesn't deserve to be in the playoffs, so I feel like I have to root against him. Yeah, exactly. In a way, it's like you want underdogs to win, but you kind of have to root against at this one because, it just means so much more. Like, let's say SVG, who's probably going to win one of these road course races coming up.
Yeah.
I mean,
Mexico City.
Yeah.
That'll be his wheelhouse.
I think he's going to win Mexico. You almost have to root against it in a way because, again, you don't want just a guy who's dead last in points competing for a championship taken away from a guy like a Bowman or a Buescher or a Bubba who deserves it more than him, or like a Kyle Busch or a Briscoe.
I tried explaining it to one of my friends last year. It was that order of events where Austin Dillon won. He was 32nd in points, and I was trying to explain it to a basketball fan. I was like, that'd be like, the Detroit Pistons, they're 32nd. They have barely won any games. Imagine if they made the playoffs. Then Harrison Burton won, and I was like, okay, he's 34th in points. There aren't even that many teams in the NBA. And imagine if some other team made that's how it, you got to explain it like that.
Yeah.
Because that's how it is.
That would have been like if the Titans last year made the playoffs, and they had the first, and they were the worst team in football.
Yeah, exactly. Ugh. Yeah.
King Solomon Racing again. Quick question: thoughts on what if NASCAR went back to the chase format 2010? I mean, I wouldn't hate it. It's a good enough balance if you want entertainment, and you still want that fairness because you still have to, be on your A game for 10 races. I think a dream scenario which implements both the playoff format and full season, or that playoff format and legitimacy. 2004 to 2006, I believe. Only 10 drivers. Make it exclusive. If you're going to make a playoff format, I want at least the guys who are going to make it actually give them a realistic shot that they can win the championship. Like, you can't, I know he did it, but you can't talk me, or probably even you, into believing that Joey Logano is a legitimate champion with the season he had. You can't talk me or anyone into that.
That's what I was thinking, is that if we limit it to 10 drivers, the Joey Logano doesn't even win it last year because he never made it to begin with.
Exactly. Like, you could talk me more into Reddick winning in this year's 6 in points, I believe, or Chase Elliott or, Denny Hamlin. While they not may be the top guys, you could talk it into it more. And
I will. Sorry, I remember I did a video, like a hypothetical video a few years ago about what if they kept this format. And the crazy thing is that if they had the chase in 2022, Ross Chastain would have won the championship.
What?
And by a meager 5 points that would have been gained from the Hail Melon, which is just crazy to think about. But I digress.
Wow.
I just remember that. I'm like, now if he was under the chase format, would he have done that? Probably not, but still.
So what would be? So I'm gonna say my dream playoff format. Tell me yours. So mine would be 10 drivers, 10 races, no elimination rounds. Keep the stage points and the playoff points, however, because I feel like one flaw with the old format was you just separated 5 in between each driver. Well, first could be the difference between first and second could be the difference between second and 15th if he's that dominant. And I think he should be rewarded still with that dominance. Now, obviously, you're going to close the gap, but still reward him like, hey, we're just not going to bring you down to the rest of the field. You still get to keep that advantage that you had. So keep the playoff points, but go to the 2004 format. Basically, the 2004 format with playoff points.
Yeah. I think if you want wins to still mean that much more, you do need bonus points and,
yes,
kind of like F1 where it's kind of, what's the word? Mathematical word. Not quadratic, exponential, where, the difference between first and second is 5 points, second and third, the difference is 3 points, something like that.
Yes.
And then, if they really want, if we're really past the point of needing a season-long championship, which I would prefer, but if you need a chase, then I agree that capping it at 10 drivers, because I was even, my sister was telling me about there's this minor league hockey, the AHL that incorporates like over half of their teams into the playoffs, and it's this convoluted, insane format. And as she's like trying to explain it to me, I'm like getting war flashbacks to everything NASCAR's done the past 10 years. Like, why are the teams that have like a losing record in the playoffs? What the hell are we doing? But no, I think you're right that capping it off, if you really need a postseason, I think the chase is the best way to do it. That way the people who rise up in the postseason can still rise, but also the regular season still means more than just, oh, you got into victory lane, okay, you're in. You know, you could just... William Byron's just been coasting for 10 weeks, and he might just keep doing that until the playoffs start.
Exactly.
Why wouldn't he? You know?
Exactly. You know what's crazy? We would have never needed the chase or playoffs if they would have just given more points to the winner back in 2003, 2004. You want to avoid a Matt Kenseth season where a guy with only one win wraps it up with a race or two to go? Just give more points to the winner. There's your incentive to win more, because the winner should always get more points no matter what happens. So just, it was such a simple fix, but they're like, no, we need a whole new format.
I think it was Ryan Newman that year who, man, he would have cleaned house. I think didn't he have like 8 wins in 2003?
Yeah, he had like 10 DNFs or something ridiculous.
Yeah, he had as many DNF. It was checkers or wreckers, but
exactly.
Man, if they gave him some bonus points, he would have cleared everybody else.
And it's funny because maybe you had Jeff Gordon you have Jeff Gordon over Terry Labonte in 1996. Like, that would be pretty interesting, but again, just give more points to the winner. Even now, I mean, the winner isn't guaranteed to have the most points. I know Larson did, but I mean, you can have the winner only get 40 points. He doesn't get any stage points, and then the guy who finishes second, he has like 20 more points than the winner. I think the winner should always have the most points. It doesn't matter if they're running 20th. It doesn't matter if they're running 10th. The winner should always have the most points because it's the race win. That's, at the end of the day, what should matter the most.
I'm a little biased about the stages. I know some people really don't like them, but when they introduced them, it was that time where like Martin Truex would lead like 80-90% of the race,
yes,
and then some inconspicuous thing would just happen and he would lose so many of them. So when they introduced stages, I was like, thank you, Lord. But I honestly, I think they should cap it at 5 drivers getting stage points. I don't know if you need 10 drivers getting them, but you're also right that, again, if you want winning to mean more, then the winner should be getting more points. And you know, capping it at top 5 drivers getting stage points, that's a way to do it.
Yeah.
You know?
That's not a bad idea. So how would you point that then? Would you just go 10, 9, 8, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6? Or would you 5, 4, 3, 2, 1?
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Yeah. Just a couple, it's like a little sprinkling, like, hey, you're leading. And I'd also want to not have stage cautions. I think that'd be an interesting thing to try. Like, it bring so much more strategy back into the game, and it would make Carl Edwards happy, and that's what I'm all about. I want to see that man happy. He's been through a lot.
I know. Alexander Segal, how's it going? Side note, Xfinity should have a spring Kansas race, and with one of their resorts being behind the backstretch, it should be called the Great Wolf Lodge 300.
No, man, it's a Hollywood casino. It's a Hollywood casino, man.
Isn't that Michigan, though?
Yeah, Michigan's Great Wolf, I think.
Oh, okay. I always get... Yeah. Those two are... You know what's funny? When I first drove Michigan in iRacing, I'm like thinking, oh, this is just like Kansas. I'm going to get... Because I'm really good at Kansas at iRacing. I'm like, oh, this is going to be fine. And then it drove nothing like Kansas. I'm like, oh, this is completely different.
It's weird. We have 3 different like tri-oval racetracks that have a building just off of turn 2, because also Texas has that hotel that's back there.
You're right.
I don't know why. They just really like building buildings there. It's a weird spot, but
Boomer Boxmaster. Hey Elly, how'd you enjoy Denny Hamlin dunking on you twice in a row, bruh?
Yeah. I already got the joke lined up for my fall video when I talk about the playoffs. He got some ebb and flow. When he got Progressive, man, he got some ebb and flow, and they've been running ever since.
Well, to be fair, you did predict Kyle Busch would miss the playoffs last year, so I feel like you're kind of one-on-one.
Well, that was a double down. In 2023, I was like, oh, he's going to miss the playoffs. It's going to be awful. And then he won his second race with RCR. But then the next year, I was like, okay, wait, this is the year. It's like the guy who keeps predicting that the world's gonna end, and he just pushes it back further and further every time. That's just what I'm doing.
Nicholas, no way, just do the 2004 format. I mean, yeah, mine is just, I like stage points because I do like the idea of rewarding drivers who do well throughout the race. Yeah, the finish is what should matter, but if you're running top 5 and then you blow a tire with 2 laps to go and you finish 29th, I mean, you're going to get 29th points. I mean, do you really, I mean, I like the idea of coming home with something.
Yeah.
Jamie said 10 drivers, 1 driver eliminated after each race until the last 3 races, having 3 drivers in contention.
That's actually kind of awesome. That's literally those racing games where like you would be in last and there'd be a timer.
Yes.
And, like, if you don't pass somebody, it's gonna that. I don't think I'd want that, but it does sound funny.
Can you imagine if the points leader blows an engine on lap 1 of the first race of the playoffs, and then he's just done? He's like, "Yep, you're done. See ya."
What if Larson pulled like a 2021 Pocono last corner, last lap
God.
into the wall, and that's how he goes out?
Swear to God, if that happens. And the playoff format is done again from Alexander. And the playoff format is dumb. I agree. I think most of us agree. Nicholas, just
I think it's overstated.
Yeah.
You know.
Nicholas, no way, just do the 2004 chase for the cup. It said 12 drivers, no more winning you're in, and keep the stage points. It would be a lot better than where we are now. Yeah, a lot of people, yeah, they're saying, like, just go back to the 2004 format. I know why they changed it, because you had Jeff Gordon, Tony Stewart, Dale Jr. missing it, so, like, you got your big names missing it, so, like, oh, we need to make sure they make it. It's like, all right, if they miss it, they miss it. Like, it's like what Dale Jr. said in last week's episode on the Dale Jr. Download. This is big boy racing. Like, this is the top level. We can't just be catering to everyone. If your season's over, oh well. It's too bad.
I mean, yeah, Joe Burrow missed the playoffs. Kevin Durant missed the playoffs this year. Like, sometimes big names just miss.
Yeah,
it's a team sport. Not all the pieces are there.
Exactly. I mean, like, it happens. King Solomon Racing Network, favorite race you have ever gone to? This question is for everyone, by the way. 2020 Daytona 500 for me. Favorite race I have gone to. The first race I've ever gone to, which was the 2016 race at Homestead. First race I went with my dad, and he's a Jimmy Johnson fan. So when he saw Jimmy Johnson win his 7th title, I just love witnessing history, period. But seeing that coupled with seeing my dad get to see his favorite driver make history, that was awesome.
Yeah, it was an exciting race too. There's a lot of good stuff going on there.
So which one was yours?
Probably the 2021 Roval, because I was right there in the, what was it called? They called it the DeWalt wall.
Turn?
They should have just called it DeWall. Yeah, it used to be the Heartburn turn. Then they turned it into the DeWall. But that was where Kevin Harvick biffed it. And I explained it. The funny was the lead up was I was with my friend who doesn't know NASCAR. I was like, all right, a couple weeks ago, this guy Chase Elliott and this guy Kevin Harvick, they got together. And I don't know if something's going to happen today. Maybe. Then like 20 minutes later, like clockwork, Harvick takes out Elliott at 20 straight laps with his bumper hanging off, and then lo and behold, right in front of us. And what's worse, I had an Elliott fan right next to me, and like I asked him twice when Harvick wrecked him. I was like, "Holy shit, did that just happen?" And then when Elliott wrecked Harvick, or when Harvick wrecked himself, I was like, "Oh my god, did that just happen?"
I remember.
Crazy.
That.
I will say, my one complaint, all our discourse about playoff talk, I had to go on Twitter. I was at the track, and I had to, with my barely connecting cell phone, to try and figure out what was happening with the points, because they didn't have it anywhere at the track.
Really?
Like, there was not on the Jumbotron, not anywhere. And I was, so as an avid NASCAR fan, I was like, I want to know who's moving on. And they, like MRN, they would like say it occasionally, but like that's all they had. But other than that, it was a great race. I loved it.
Yeah, you'd think they would have shown that. I mean, I go to mostly Homestead races, which either is the finale or not, so they really have no reason to talk about points. But you'd think they would have that.
Yeah. Well, at least when I was at Martinsville last fall, they had, like, they just took the leaderboard off the screen entirely and just put the 8 playoff drivers up there. So I think they've fixed that. But it's amazing, all this discourse about playoffs and how much they matter, and apparently to the people at the track, it doesn't mean anything.
But that's why I go back to saying before, we care about the racing is good. Then we'll worry about the championship later. Just make sure my race is good.
Exactly.
Let's see what else we got here. Raging Knuckles. I like stage racing. I don't like stage cautions as much. Yep, I agree.
Agreed.
On King Solomon again, favorite driver growing up, excuse me. Growing up, I was a Dale Jr. fan. My mom was a Dale Sr. fan, so just latched onto the Earnhardt name, Dale Jr. When Jr. retired, I moved on to Jimmy Johnson, and then when Jimmy Johnson retired, I went to Kyle Larson.
So you had a short stint with Johnson.
Yes. Unfortunately, it was the worst stint.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. Yeah, he had a few more wins.
What about you?
Tony Stewart. Tony Stewart was my guy. I'm pretty sure it was just because my dad and I went to the Home Depot. I mean, it was right after I'd seen the movie Cars. And when I found out that there were real-life cars going fast, and I saw it at the Home Depot, I'm like, oh, that's my guy right there.
Speaking of Tony Stewart, you might like this. So my mom, she lives in Indiana, and she's got a next-door neighbor who's big at just racing, period. He gave me a Tony Stewart watch from when he won his 2005 title. A big Tony... I'm not even a Tony Stewart fan. He just gave it to me because he knows I like racing. So he gave me a Tony Stewart watch, a giant Tony Stewart flag, and he gave me, for my graduation gift, because I had my graduation ceremony yesterday, he gave me 30 signed hero cards, and one of them was Tony Stewart with his Indy car.
Oh, like the old, like his late 90s, like Menards?
Yes.
Dang. That's badass. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Also, congrats on graduating.
Oh,
that's awesome.
Thank you. You know, it's funny. I technically finished in December, so I'm already halfway done with my master's. And they're just like, oh yeah, now we're going to celebrate your bachelor's. Like, you guys are kind of late.
That's how it was with all the COVID, when we were like graduating school with COVID and stuff happening. We're like, we'll do something eventually. We'll do I think we did our trip in like 2 years after or something like that. It's like, it's still a celebration. You still did it.
So I graduated high school literally I graduated in 2019. So literally the year before COVID. So I just missed it.
Yeah, you got out. That was a good time to get out. Although, wait, then you would have been coming into college right after, and that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's still not good. Just not a good time to be in. Not really a good time to be anywhere.
No,
frankly. Dang, all this talk about COVID and the playoffs, man, I'm getting bummed. But the Tony Stewart stuff's cool though.
Oh yeah. Worst day ever being a Dale Jr. fan from Nicholas. Yep. Don't get me started. I remember I was in science class and I saw on my phone the Dale Jr. announcement that he retired. I literally screamed in the middle of class and everyone looked at me like, what the hell is wrong with you?
A lot of people forget how unexpected, like, it wasn't at the beginning of the season.
No,
it was like
middle of the season, like April.
Yeah, no, he didn't start off the year like I'm gonna be done. Like, you know, I think some people expected it, but the timing of it was off, you know?
Yeah. All right, we've delayed it long enough. It is time for my favorite segment. It's time for race weekend rankings. If you guys don't know how this works, I watch each race throughout the week, and then I put them on a tier list as to, you know, which one was the best, which one was the worst. We got two of them here. We got Kansas, and then we got the 2025 one, and this one is getting really big, so we'll figure that out later, but we got the whole 2025 season, and we got Kansas. If you guys want to follow along, the link is in the description for both the Kansas race weekend ranking as well as the 2025 race weekend rankings. Show us your ranking and then tag us on social media, and then we'll share it. So, we got three races. We got the ARCA race, Xfinity, and Cup. I'm going to put the ARCA race in dead last. And the reason I'm going to put it in dead last is because that terrible, disgusting rule of we have to finish the race under green. I hate it. Anytime it's brought up, it immediately gets docked like 5-6 points for me because it's one of the worst rules in motorsports, period. If you can't tell by the way I'm reacting, that means I also hate overtime. But this makes overtime look fine. I would take 5 overtimes in Nashville over that. I'm being very serious. So I'll put that in the third tier.
Well, also, it's like the worst series to have that.
Exactly.
It's ARCA. They're not going to keep it clean. What are you talking about? If anybody gets a sniff at the front of the pack, even if they're driving a jalopy, if they're driving the Model T, they're going to try and go for it.
Exactly. I'm going to put the truck race at number 1, and I'm going to put Cup at number 2. The reason I'm going to put the truck race at number 1 is because I think we had a better finish. And there was a little more action for the lead throughout the race, whereas in Cup, yeah, there was battles throughout the field, but really, like I mentioned before, once you had clean air, you were gone. Trucks, at least, maybe Heim could have done it. You had Heim, Hocevar, Lane Riggs. There was so much more action for the win that an average Cup race versus, I thought this truck race is actually pretty good. So, I don't know about you, Connor, but I like this. I think truck deserves to go number 1, Cup number 2, and then ARCA number 3.
Yeah, no disagreements from me. I think that's right. It's a shame because I think, again, Kansas, the race as a whole was fine. I think in this case, you just had a Kyle Larson and a Cliff Daniels that are really clicking right now. Kind of stinking up the show a little bit, but also that clean air is just so vital. And those trucks kind of embarrassed the Cup field. People are going to be talking about that middle finger from Hocevar. I don't know how much they're going to be talking about Larson, but people are going to remember Hocevar.
Exactly. All right, moving on to the 2025 race weekend rankings. So, golly, this is a lot of races. So, this is my new rule of thumb. Obviously, you got like S tier. There's only been one S tier race for me so far this year, and that was the Cup Coda race. A tier is a really good race, but it's not like cream of the crop. B tier was a good race, some memorable moments, solid. C tier is, I'm probably not going to remember this race. Like I barely remember anything that happened throughout these races, and I'm probably not going to remember it a month's time. That doesn't mean they're bad, they're just your average race. D tier, bad race. And F tier, I mean, to be honest, ARCA, there was nothing special about that race anyway. You put that terrible overtime rule, I'm putting it in F tier. F tier is just embarrassing. I never want to see that again. Food City 500, never want to see that again. Any of these races, never want to see them again.
That was the only time I've ever regretted going to a race. I stayed an extra day in Bristol to catch the Cup race, and I was so mad at myself for doing that. And I was like, why did I stay? This is pointless.
I think the worst Cup race I probably went to was when Kyle Busch won his second title. That race was a snoozer.
Yeah. Every time Truex would gain ground, his crew put the tires on the wrong side, and then Hamlin gained ground, and his car started overheating. Like, it was, yeah. I remember that one. That one hurt.
All right, so I'm going to put the Cup race. I used to put these I'll put it like at the top of C tier. These all just mixed together. I'm going to put in C tier. And then the truck race, I think it deserves to be in the middle of B tier. I think it was a good race. Again, nothing really flashy besides the host of our middle finger. But it was a good race. Not a top tier race. Probably like a 7.5 out of 10. B tier race.
Yeah. I agree with that. That's a fair ranking.
So here we go. This is the 2025 race weekend rankings so far. Again, only one race in the S tier. We got 5.
I gotta ask, S tier Coda. I'm interested. I thought it was a good race, but what put it over? I'm curious.
Oh, I gotta remember this now because it was so long ago. I thought like just
Sorry to put you on the spot.
No, you're good. You're good. Whew. I mean, I just thought the racing and as a whole was just. I think the cutout layout, which that could have played a factor, is it was a new layout. Teams didn't really know. Again, it goes back to when teams don't know what's going on. That's when you get the best product, and I think that's what you saw with Coda. This shortened layout. Teams were trying to figure it out, and there was just action throughout the entire field. But unlike most Coda races, it wasn't action to the point of calamity. I feel like when you get 7, 8 wide, everyone dive bombing, trying to go from 30th to 5th on a restart, you didn't really have that at Coda. Everyone was still respectful. And then you had battles for the lead. You know, Kyle Busch could go up to SVG and he could fight him. Christopher Bell can go up there. Reddick was up there. You can just have action for the lead, for second, for third. It wasn't really much of a dull moment throughout. And that battle between Bell, Busch, Reddick, I think even Chase Elliott was thrown into the mix.
Yeah.
That was a great battle. Like 4 cars under a blanket. And it wasn't because of Aero. It wasn't because of the 550 or whatever. It was because you just had these guys who had the best cars, the best drivers, just slugging it out. It was phenomenal.
Yeah, I kind of slipped my mind about that late race battle between all those different guys. And even Bubba Wallace, of all people, was kind of easing his way into it. Like, you're right. That race was pretty damn good. And it really helped Coda because, you know, the past few years, that I think having that long straightaway kind of hurt it.
Yeah, I think so too.
You're right that the new version of the course, it's all coming back to me now. I'm like, yeah, that was a good race. I enjoyed that one.
I really hope we get another S tier race because it's getting kind of lonely in there with just Coda. Thankfully, we've had a few A tier races, but it's like, I don't know.
Last year we had like 3 of them. We would have had like 3 S tier races this year at this point, I think.
I mean, you even made the video like all the close finishes. Like we didn't get one with this next gen, and then we get Atlanta. We get Texas Xfinity. We get Kansas Cup the first time around. We had so many good races.
Darlington with that battle between Reddick and Buescher and Keselowski going through. That was a great race too.
Tell you what, I'm going to go back to this tier list real quick. So we got Vegas, Homestead, a couple of Xfinity races. The thing is, if I were to put any, I don't think any race in the A tier deserves to go into S tier. Maybe Homestead, because that battle between Bowman and Larson.
Although it wasn't much of a battle.
Yeah, exactly.
Larson just kind of ran him over and said bye-bye.
That's what I'm trying to say. Like, even Vegas, I mean, Barry kind of just, I mean, even besides Josh Berry winning, I know the racing as a whole was good, but, like, there wasn't really a moment that stood out besides Josh Berry winning.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Yeah, I'm fine. I mean, I'll probably change this at some point, but it's like, I like what we got so far. I will say, I don't like the fact that we're getting more F and D tier than we are, you know, S and A tier, but
yeah,
hopefully Charlotte does better.
It's just kind of the way things have been this year. Just hasn't been nearly as good of a start, in my opinion, as 2024.
I agree. Well, that's going to do it for today's episode, everybody. But before we go, you guys already know what to do here. You guys should already know who this guy is anyway, but in case you don't hear, I mean, of course, you got his YouTube and, of course, Cutthroat Sports. So before we go here, Elly, or Connor, I actually do want to, because I don't know the story about that.
You messed it up. Oh, no. You called me Elly. Oh, God.
Okay.
It's over.
Before we go.
All right. Show's over.
Okay, so before we go, guys, you know what to do. Go raid Connor. You see the subscribe. You see Elly Productions, Cutthroat Sports. Go raid him below. While Connor, the floor is all yours. But I do want to ask, because I honestly don't even know. I don't know if you've ever said this or, you know, what. Where did you get the name Elly Productions, even though your name's Connor?
That would be. Hang on one sec. My stuffed elephant Elly. I named the channel when I was 8 years old, and I named it after my stuffed elephant Elly, and just never really changed it.
Okay, that's actually kind of cool.
Thank you. I used to be embarrassed about it. I'd be like bashful. I'd be like in middle school, like, yeah, it was named after my elephant. Now it's like a point of pride.
Hey, I mean, I used to have a channel called the Motorsport Ministry because I'm a certified minister. So,
I actually like that more. I'll be honest. That's awesome.
honestly, though, that's pretty cool, though. Like,
What good branding with that? Damn.
yeah. So you've had that name for a while, then.
Yeah, since 2012. So
Wow.
I've only been like working at YouTube for like 3 years, but I have been kicking for a long time.
Wow. Hey, that's awesome. I love it. But speaking of YouTube, so the floor is all yours. So, just tell us why you do it, all the stuff, where we can find you, all that good stuff.
Well, my name is Elly Productions 49. If you know me from my NASCAR content, I had that one video about Danica Patrick that really blew up. But I also try to make videos about other drivers and stuff. So if you like NASCAR, if you like motorsports, make sure to follow. And then also follow Cutthroat Sports. That's my new venture. So I'm trying to get out of the light here. I like hockey and basketball and football and all those things. So I'm also trying to do videos about that kind of in the same style. So, and then of course my socials are the same handles. So want to check me out? I'm all over the place. I'm on YouTube, Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram. But yeah, Elly Productions 49. Check it out.
You know what's funny? When I first started watching about a year ago, and how I found you was I was a writer for the Daily Downforce, and one of my assignments was to write about your F1 video. So I was like, oh, okay, hey, I've never done a video. I've never written an article for a video. So then I watched, I'm like, dang, this guy is good. So then I kept watching, and then I found some of your paint scheme videos. So I'm like, oh, this guy is also really funny. Those are my favorite ones, honestly.
I try to spin a little bit of humor. I try to make it not all doom and gloom.
Now, my favorite video, I think, has to be your paint scheme quiz. That one was hilarious. I was crying during that video. It's like, oh, this is Dale Earnhardt. No, it's Mike Skinner.
I really want to do, if I get to a racetrack and have a media credential, I would love to do that quiz with actual people at the track. I think that would be so, I think I'd get run out of there with pitchforks and torches and stuff. But it'd be so funny.
Oh, if you try doing that with Dale Earnhardt, you'll definitely be run out of.
I think he's gonna sick the Dirty Mo posse on me.
But Connor, hey man, thanks for coming on. This was awesome.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
And that's going to do it for this show today, everybody. We'll see you next week for the All-Star Race. If you guys want to follow me on my socials, you guys should already know my Twitter is. I shameless plug it pretty much every episode. But if not, it's the same as the Instagram and the TikTok handles underneath me. It's just my first and my last name. Follow us on Daily Downforce on all social media platforms. Check out dailydownforce.com as well. That's going to do it for us, folks. We're going to wave the checkered flag. This is the Cutline. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we will see you next week.